Well, it's nearly here. Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater. Isn't that a mouthful of a title? While I'm waiting in anticipation of the latest AAA remake, I thought why not return to the classic it's based on and see how Konami can and might improve on what most people believe to be an almost perfect game. If you somehow haven't played Metal Gear Solid 3 before, a spoiler warning is in effect for this video. Before we go much further, please consider dropping a like, subscribing and hit the bell notification so you never miss a new video. Without much further ado, let's get into it. Metal Gear Solid 3 is the first entry in this series to follow Naked Snake and take place before the events of the first Metal Gear game, kicking off the prequel era in the Metal Gear timeline. Metal Gear Solid 3 details the events of how Naked Snake earned the title of Big Boss and how his descent into darkness began, which is an oversimplification of the overall story, but you get the gist. Unlike many of the last games that I covered, the story in this is front and center, as Hideo Kojima, the series creator, has an unusual obsession with various movies and other media, and he can't resist the urge to tell the player a story which, when I return to this game, can at times be in the way. Much like its predecessor, Metal Gear Solid 3 gives the player a prologue chapter. This time, you're extracting a rocket scientist who's defecting from the USSR. Only it doesn't quite go to plan. Snake infiltrates Selino Yarsk by completing the world's first Halo jump and makes contact with the Soviet scientist Sokolov. The both of them narrowly escape capture by the Ocelot unit, where we first meet Ocelot, a guy with, shall we say, an unusual flair, a gun fetish, and is somehow always 2 steps ahead of everyone else. Well, most of the time. Things take a hard turn when Snake is ambushed by his old mentor, the Boss, who's defected to the Soviet Union and hands over 2 nukes to Colonel Volgin. Snake gets his ass handed to him and thrown off a bridge. Volgin then fires one of those nukes at a Russian research site, making it look like the US did it, almost starting World War III. Snake somehow survives the fallout, and after making a pretty swift recovery, all things considered, he is sent back to fix the mess, as well as repair the US's and Khrushchev's image on the world stage. His mission is to rescue Sokolov, stop and kill Volgin and the Cobra unit, destroy the Shagohod, kill the Boss, and recover the second nuke. What we're treated with is a wild mission through jungles, caves, labs, and the obligatory enemy fortress, mostly consisting of supernatural boss fights with the Cobra unit. The members include the Pain, the Fear, the End, and the Fury. Along the way, Snake keeps butting heads with Ocelot, both of whom always walk away unscathed. Eva, a mysterious spy with extra assets.
Nice.
And the Boss, Snake's former mentor, who keeps testing his resolve. After defeating the Cobras, Snake infiltrates a fortress, gets caught.
What is this fairy disguise?
Tortured, and loses an eye. He breaks out in a way that would make 007 and Ethan Hunt blush, and then escapes in a scene that's totally not from The Fugitive. After which he fights the Sorrow, a literal ghost in a nightmare sequence, before teaming back up with Eva to destroy the Shagohod. Snake then has a 1v1 fist fight with Volgin, an epic chase, and a final showdown with Volgin on the Shagohod. Prior to escape, Snake heads to a flower field for one last duel with the Boss, a tragic end that he, and us as the player, have to personally carry out. After escaping with Eva, Snake is confronted one last time by Ocelot in a roulette-style standoff. Canonically, Snake wins, and is later awarded the title of Big Boss. But in true Metal Gear fashion, the ending stings harder than you could possibly imagine, and it turns out the Boss was loyal all along and sacrificed for political cover-up. In a post-credit scene, before they were cool, it is revealed that Ocelot was playing everyone the entire time. Before I get into the gameplay, I should mention that there are nods to various other famous works and historical events in the Metal Gear games. This may upset a good amount of you, but I gotta be honest. Coming from someone who grew up in this era of gaming, I can tell you that while in some ways it was revolutionary like the camo system, and despite how clunky it is, especially for newcomers, the game, I would say in more ways than one, feels like it's a little bit behind even for the time.
No, please.
If we look at other games at the time, the main thing that irks me would be that at times, especially in the early parts of the game, this game tends to hold your hand a bit too much. When we first infiltrate Selino Yarsk, we're told in a cutscene, which most people would watch on their first playthrough, that we're to make contact with Sokolov and then extract him.
It's our best chance to get him back. This mission would never have been possible if... Your mission is to retrieve Dr. Sokolov.
Then, 5 minutes later when the cutscene ends, we're told the same thing via codec. In that same cutscene we lose our backpack in a tree and we have to go and retrieve it. In the same codec call, we're told not even 2 minutes later to go back and get it. Then we get the backpack, and guess what? Another codec call. The game is not targeted towards small children. We understand. We have the backpack that carries all our stuff. And yes, we know we have to go and get Sokolov. To be fair, as the game progresses, you get less calls, but it seems to take forever to take off. In the trailers and promotional content of the remake that I've seen, the other problems appear to be fixed, that being the better control layout and the gunplay aspect looks to be a bit tighter. The terrible tank controls, even for the time, don't make a great deal of sense, especially when you consider that Snake is supposed to be a legendary soldier of the Cold War. In Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow, which was released 7 months prior, had a noticeably better control scheme that made a bit more sense. I know, both games approach stealth a little bit differently, and set out to achieve different goals. I will say that the Metal Gear series is much more approachable than Splinter Cell, especially when you consider what we had back in 2004, but the control scheme was definitely worth mentioning. I do hope the Octo Camo feature is unlockable in the remake, and not just given to you. If you play the game safely, you should be fine to pick a general camo for the area you're in, unless you're sticking out like a sore thumb. There's no reason to really stop. As far as I'm aware, this is the first game in the series to feature a setting that's not exclusively set in a military base or industrial setting, and offers the player something different entirely. A jungle that is incredibly hostile, and it's not just the enemies in the jungle either. You can be attacked by snakes, alligators, dogs, and more. There's a mountain section too, which is short-lived, but I found out if you use the tranquilizer gun on the soldiers up the top, the vultures will eat away at their flesh. I'm pretty sure I knocked them out. Today, the game does admittedly look like a PS2 era game, but for its time, these graphics are high quality, and most of the weapons sound and feel effective even today, which is quite an achievement for a game that came out in 2004. The jungle was and still is a fresh take that I think most of us are keen to see the return of, and I think the developers did a great job with the technology they had to work with. As mentioned, the controls, even for the time, aren't great, but to be fair, it still took a lot of developers until the 360 and PS3 era to really iron out the controls. But at least they contribute to the game's overall identity. The problem with having modern controls is that it can be harder to give the game its own identity outside of storytelling and setting. Let's not forget the music. The music in this game is absolutely god tier and still has one of the best soundtracks to date. I can't play too much of the music due to licensing, but there's the main Snake Eater theme, which is the Not Bond song.
What a thrill.
And the Metal Gear Solid theme. Which is more modern, and both are absolutely epic. After hearing the new Snake Eater theme, I can safely say that the original is so much better, but maybe Konami will put the original back in the game, or let's be honest, they'll probably sell it back to us as DLC like Resident Evil 4 did with its soundtrack. All in all, the OG Snake Eater still holds up, and if you don't want to buy the remake just yet, the classic version is still a great time. To no one's surprise, the game still holds up today. I'm not sure the Metal Gear games were the first to have stories front and centre, but they did make large contributions to the increased popularity of story-driven games, and it's not hard to see why. The story can be enjoyed at any level of entertainment, and by that I mean, if you're looking for something to just entertain you, the game will do that. If you like to go down rabbit holes uncovering conspiracy theories and looking for clues and piecing together information, the game will do that. Do you like experiencing the highest highs and lowest lows? The game also does that, and more. If there's any negative impact this series has had on the industry as a whole, it would be that a large number of publishers and developers think that every game they make has to try and tell a deep and meaningful story instead of a relatively simple one. often at the expense of gameplay. When the remake was announced, I was immediately excited to see a game of this calibre finally getting the remake it deserves. If you're interested in playing Metal Gear Solid 3, or the titles up to Metal Gear Solid 3, the most accessible way to play now would easily be the Masters Collection on consoles. I don't doubt there's a way to play these on PC, though I haven't found a licensed PC port of the game on Game Pass, Steam, or Epic Games. If you haven't somehow played this yet, definitely check it out. If you made it this far, please consider dropping a like, leaving a comment, and subscribing, and make sure you hit the bell notification so you never miss a new video, as it helps the channel out a lot. Thanks heaps guys, I'll see you in the next one.